You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, Days fans. You know by now that head writer Ron Carlivati left the Peacock soap back in July, but now it looks like the real reason he got fired is coming out, and you're probably going to agree with why he got the axe. Plus, his boss, Corday, dropped some pretty harsh words in a recent interview, and so did 3 of the actors from this soap opera that have not been too impressed with some of Ron's recent writing. It is Belinda from Soap Dirt. Hey, please click subscribe if you're not following us, and let's dive into it. So you guys know it's been a tumultuous few years at the long-running soap. In fall of 2022, NBC took the daytime drama off of network TV. They moved it over to Peacock streaming. I know a lot of people were PO'd. They said, I'm not going to follow it. I'm not going to go over there. They weren't going to subscribe. But a lot of people did. The platform added 2 million subscribers since then, and they credit that in a large part to Days of Our Lives. And for me, it's kind of worth the money. I even paid the little extra to get the ad free. You can watch old NBC shows like Dick Van Dyke, Andy Griffith, Sunday night live NFL games. I don't watch that. But all the Universal Studios movies, I do watch some of those. There's just a lot of stuff on the platform. And, you know, Days is doing well enough over there that they got a reunion into season 61. So, but it's going to take them all the way to 2026 right now, but without long-running head writer Ron Carlivati. He started as the head writer on Days back in 2017 and ran through July 2024, surviving the scandal that surrounded now-fired producer-director Albert Olar. He was let go in August 2023. You guys probably remember that, and it remains the subject of controversy and some litigation. So this week, Days just celebrated its official 59th anniversary, and it's going to hit its epic 15,000th episode in December of this year. And of course, this year, other big stuff, sad stuff. We lost Bill Hayes in January. We lost Drake Hogestyn in September. And Ron Carlivati wrote the exit for Bill's character, Doug Williams. We last saw Bill Hayes on July 11th, and they're going to have a body double with no face shown for some upcoming super sad scenes. And in just 16 episodes from today, we're going to see Doug Williams' funeral. So have your Kleenex ready, but I mean, gosh, have it ready all the time because the episodes leading up to that are going to be sad because Julie has already mentioned his declining health. So this is a huge story. It's a giant tribute to a beloved actor and a beloved character. And this is, I think, one of the last big important storylines that Ron Carlivati wrote that is going to be meaningful in his tenure. And if you're one of those people who is asking the comments here whether he resigned or was fired, well, Ken Corday fired him. And, you know, some of Ron Carlivati's work I like, but you have to take it all with a grain of salt. He created a lot of characters I did like over on General Hospital. Here on Days, he hasn't created a lot of new characters, but he's brought some past ones into greater prominence or done unusual things with them, like pairing Sierra Brady with Ben Weston. One that he did create that was not too popular was like Gwen Rizchak. Another one that Ron Carlivati created was Leo Stark, who is basically now playing kind of a version of Ron himself as Leo is writing the soap within a soap. Now, hang on. Don't stop listening because I'm going to say body and soul, because it is very important. You're going to want to hear this because it is about why Ron got fired. If you hate that soap within a soap, if you're one of those people that hates it, you are really going to want to hear this. First of all, most importantly, it is done. They are no longer filming Body and Soul. So yes, bad news. There's a few more months of it to watch. Ron's work will continue airing through April 2025, but that soap within a soap is dead. So yay. And not going to be resurrected like Salem dead, really dead. So between now and then, just fast forward if you don't like it, because it's not staying around and you don't need to really pay attention to it because it's going to be dead. And number 2, and this is the big deal, guess what? According to Deidre Hall in an interview at Day of Days, body and soul, she believes, is what got Ron Carlivati fired. And I know it's why a lot of fans wanted to see him fired. So maybe you guys manifested it and made it happen. So Michael Fairman asked Deidre what she thought about the Hattie thing with body and soul. Before she could even answer, he said what a lot of people think. He said, I don't like body and soul. And then Deidre said, body and soul is done. So it's like, yay. And then she said, and I think that's what sent Ron away. And, Michael agreed, saying, I do too. And then Susan Hayes chimed in saying, we had some laughs and some cringes with body and soul. And now we're back to telling the story of real people and perhaps real situations. That kind of harsh words. If you watch the recent Halloween episode, which was Leo Stark's nightmare, where he wound up stabbed and Stephanie Johnson laughed and said, nobody cares about the writer. Maybe that was some really serious foreshadowing. And there's more. Don't stop listening just because I'm talking about this. You're going to want to hear this. I know you guys hate to hear about the soap within a soap, but this is good stuff. So the other thing to talk about is what I think was a definite diss from Ken Corday about Ron's writing. Sort of the same kind of diss that Susan Hayes just made about getting back to the stories about real people. Ken Corday said in a recent interview about changing the focus of the soap, he said, I just felt it was time for a different story push. Sometimes change is called for, and this was a case where it was clear to me that it was. Now, this thing he said, tell me what you think in the comments. He said, he talked about having 2 new female head writers. And this thing he said, I was kind of like, excuse me, what? Ken Corday said, this is the first time in my run of 40 years as producer on the show that I've had this luxury. Remember that word, okay? Ken Corday's parents created the show, and he has been the executive producer since like 1981. As long as he's been in power, 4 decades, I would think if he had wanted to have female head writers, he could have made it happen. That does not seem like a luxury. That seems like a choice he made every time he hired or had a voice in the hiring of head writers, right? So me personally, I think there are way too many male head writers in a genre that is watched predominantly by women. That's my opinion. So here's the other remark I feel like was a big diss from Corday aimed at Ron Carlivati. He said, we're trying to root the show in much more of an interpersonal reality with a return to romance and passion more than science fiction. Science fiction. Isn't that a fun phrase? I mean, Ron did bring back the devil possession. He resurrected half the town. He yanked Megan Hathaway out of the grave. He had her yank Bo Brady out of the grave. And while I'm happy Bo's alive, I mean, what's the point if he's not going to be in Salem, if he's not going to be, speaking and walking around? And I know he is going to come back, but they're not staying, not long, That whole thing with Kristen Demara's masks, his bizarre fixation on rape, which is not romantic, which is quite disturbing. And we've got more rape stuff coming, by the way, with the whole EJ thing. And they're bringing back fake Rafe, another rapist, So, and by the way, Billy Flynn also was dissing Ron at Day of Days too. He was also talking to Michael Fairman about the cat plot and said it was complicated and said, that was the kindest thing to say. And he said Ron refused to do Abigail Devereaux coming back to life. And he said he's excited by the new writers. And he said that they are smoothing things out and fixing things. Ouch. Because that means things needed fixed, which I think we can all agree do. Michael called the cat plot clumsy, and Billy agreed. And Billy said what we're all thinking. He said Chad would know that was not Abby. He said you have to suspend too much disbelief. I've said that here. It's idiotic. Her teeth, her eyes, her body, her mannerisms, her voice. A car wreck doesn't change that, and neither does plastic surgery. Her whole frame, her height, her feet, her ankles, the moles on her back. It's insanity. Some fans feel like Ron Carlivati got 7 years too long at Days, which is, the entirety of his tenure. So if you are not happy with the way storylines are going, get out your calendar and put a big old gold star on April 2025 when the new writer's work debuts.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.